Quentin Coldwater, a grad student at Brakebills College for Magical Pedagogy, has been fascinated by the magical fantasy world since he was young. But as he's gotten older, Quentin and his 20-something friends have discovered that the magical world they read about as children is not only real, but poses dangers to humanity. While studying at the secret upstate New York school, the friends struggle to cope with the aftermath of a catastrophe that befalls the institution.
This week on You've Never Seen That, The Magicians.
From Atlanta, Fulton County.
Have but one objective.
The color I see. Then you maintain the status.
December 7th, 9th.
You never seen that!
Welcome back to another episode of the You've Never Seen That podcast.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm back.
I was going to say you're here. Interestingly enough,
Go on with the intro.
you are still here. Well, for those of you who are new, thank you for tuning in. For those of you who are returning, thank you for being loyal listeners or watchers if you're looking at the YouTube. This is the show where two dudes watch a random episode of a popular television series that we've never seen before, and then we discuss the plot, the characters, and the fandom surrounding it. Who am I? I'm assuming a name is populating somewhere around here. I am the Reverend Dr. Michael Haas, Esquire.
Oh boy! As always, on this side of the table, is the sexy voice belongs to your boy Bell. If you were listening or watching last week, I said I wasn't going to be here because I was broken by this podcast.
You broke.
I reached a level where I thought
It can't make any less sense.
There's nowhere to go from here. I've quit. I decided. The Magicians brought me back.
It brought you back. To be completely honest, I was hoping you were going to show up this week with some fantastic story about how, like, you walked outside and, like, a comet landed in front of you and, like a Fortnite llama came to life and rode off, and you were just like, okay. And you, like, walked away because, like, it couldn't get weirder for you at that point, so you're like, oh, okay.
You know, you would think that for doing this for 3+ years, the premise of watching a show out of context that we've never seen, we would be used to being confused, right?
Yeah, I think that's really kind of the whole shtick here.
And generally, we watched...
It's really good-natured sticky.
What's the one that
Walking
we watched?
Dead?
No. The other one. You know what I'm talking
It's
about.
literally over 100. I had a 1 in 100 chance.
The one with the town.
Less than that.
And everything is weird. I think it's in...
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I've got a weird energy today.
Yeah. But it's good. It's great. I think it's playing really well.
Okay.
What do you think, Cameron?
We watched Twin Peaks.
Yes.
And that is
not a boob joke.
That is like in its core weird. Like that's what it's known for.
It was meant
right?
to be weird. Yeah, it was created to be weird.
And that was like 2 years ago that we watched that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
For some reason, last week's episode of Legion just broke me.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And so for us to get another show that's also sort of based in a time travel, weird
jumpy,
mysticism show.
Mystic fantasy.
It
really captured the... For the viewers and not the listeners, they're really going to get a feel for what this show is about simply by watching us.
I was really hoping we would have gotten young Sheldon.
Too late?
Oh, we've already watched that.
Yep. We could have gotten young Shelton.
Just anything that was like just a palate cleanser, right?
Like we forgot we put Property Brothers in there or something. You like pulled it out and you're like, oh, okay. I guess
Season 2 of as we watch Property Brothers and it's weird as fuck.
We watch Property Brothers and one of the brothers like inhabits the other and then traps him in a mine prison.
I've actually never seen Property Brothers.
All right, put it in the hat. I've seen every episode. Put it in the hat. I don't even care.
Okay, but so
you're gonna be really weirded out when they remodel that home for those two women with man faces.
We did.
It's a Legion reference.
We did pull the what network is this, by the way?
I believe is this FX?
SyFy.
SyFy. Yeah.
I have a lot of questions about SyFy. Anyway, we watched the SyFy original series, The Magicians, season 5.
Is it why do they use the Y?
SyFy.
Yeah, SY.
Season 5, episode 7. I don't have the episode title.
It's called Acting Dean.
Acting Dean.
Acting Dean.
season 5 is the most current season.
I think it's the last season, isn't it? Or is it? Yeah, it's ended. It's over. This is the last season.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think, producer Josh, can you take your headphones off? Do you think that he rigs the dice?
Oh.
We've been getting so many final season episodes of shows lately.
I don't necessarily. I don't know.
I think he rigs the dice.
I think it does it make for better TV?
Anyway, producer Josh,
You
put
put your
those,
headphones
put
back
those
on.
cans back
Put
on
cans
there.
back on there. Yep.
So
Do you rig the dice? I don't think he does. I think he would have panicked.
I think he does.
I think he would have panicked.
So season 5 is carrying a confirmation is the show over.
The show's over. Yep.
So
We got the thumbs up when I said that. Yep.
Okay, so season 5 is the
This is the
current,
last
current and final season.
current and final season.
So
How many episodes were in this season?
you've got the IMDb pulled up.
Yeah, but I have our episode 1 pulled up. I don't know how many there are.
So what do we got? 12?
12?
13.
Season 5. Episode
13.
13 is the last one.
So
So
this
we're only
is-
6 episodes away from the last.
Does it? This doesn't.
It doesn't feel like the end.
Like a final season.
It doesn't feel
episode.
like we're one season of Loki away from ending this show.
Well, why don't we do what we normally always do when we start, and
Sure.
let's briefly talk about our knowledge of this show
Okay.
before jumping in.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely can. I actually knew that this was based off of a young adult fantasy novel series. I don't know how closely it follows it. I just know that there is a The Magician's fantasy series, kind of similar to Harry Potter in the sense
fantasy
of...
series is based on a series of novels by Lev Grossman.
Yes. He's a really popular young adult and fantasy writer, and I didn't know who it was, but I knew that. I didn't know that it was
There's your guy.
you know, I'm not gonna lie, he looks exactly like I assumed him to look by his name. You gave me his name and showed me the picture, and I would win Guess Who in one fucking move.
Does he look like he wrote a teenage fantasy series?
Yeah, he does.
Click, 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 click.
Is it Lex Grossman? Lev Grossman. Yes, it is. No, I knew it was a young adult series. I didn't know that it kind of seems like it was like maybe like in a not intentionally, but kind of like an American answer to Harry Potter. And I
have a lot of thoughts.
yeah,
but I'll let you
yeah,
finish.
okay. No, I knew that it was a young adult fantasy series. I knew that.
So, I had almost absolutely no knowledge at all of what this show was, other than hearing the name, The Magicians, a
Yeah.
lot. It is all streaming on Netflix, so sometimes when you're just browsing Netflix and what to watch, like
It shows up and you're
I'll
like
just-
recommended
I'll
or
breeze right past it.
yep.
I think we mentioned last episode of the podcast. Producer Josh's wife is a big fan of this show.
Yeah.
She also is a big fan of Harry Potter, which kind of makes sense. Question in the back.
Not a question, just an update.
Oh, not you. The one behind you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, we are doing a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Let me
Let me bring the mic back to this person.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes.
I just provided some walking sound just for but that anyone watching the YouTube is like, "Hey, wait a minute."
So yes, clarification. I talked to producer Josh over there.
Yeah.
Apparently, his wife couldn't get into the final season.
Oh, okay.
She was a big
interesting.
fan,
That's actually pretty
and
interesting.
then leading up to the final season, she just could not continue watching it.
So let me get this straight. Person who conferred with producer Josh, who isn't producer Josh, even though he sounds exactly like producer Josh.
Right.
Producer Josh. This might be easier if you just hand
This
the
is
microphone back. Just hand the microphone back to.
Let me clarify what's happening.
Yeah. Yes.
That's producer Josh.
Yes.
The person that just asked is actually producer Josh 17.
Yeah. That's a joke people don't get yet.
That's a reference you
People
will
won't get that.
understand in about 30 minutes.
You know what's funny though is if there's any time travelers in it, we are Legion. If there's any time travelers watching, they'll get that. No, I could see that. Producer Josh 17. I would be really interested to see if your wife thought that like maybe they crammed too much in or got away from the story too much in season 5, because it does kind of seem like they were jumping sharks in this episode.
So I didn't know anything about the show other than that it existed.
Yeah.
There's been chatter. I think it is generally pretty popular. I don't know,
Yeah,
if, Josh, if
you
you want to
pull back up the thermometer. I think it had 91%.
because the
91% on the thermometer is pretty good. 73 audience score. That's just Josh's wife downvoting the final season.
will you look up like the either the streaming numbers or like the actual numbers of who watched? I think like Nielsen rating might have that.
Does the Nielsen rating work for streaming?
I don't know, actually.
It's all digital, so you'd think a computer could do it. They were essentially just giving people computers to put in their homes. But
so I knew that there are people out there, hopefully watching or listening, that actually like the show, right?
yeah.
I didn't know it was on SyFy. I now have a bunch of questions about SyFy.
Yeah.
So, when did the line of like premium cable and regular cable kind of blend? Because now we have
You're talking about how like
there's like
it used to be
AMC.
like people wouldn't buy like AMC History Channel.
Here's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
AMC, SyFy, what's the other one? FXX. Like, you can just swear now?
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
I thought SyFy was a regular basic cable.
I think SyFy is not.
And then
yeah.
in this episode, like pretty early on, we get a big old F-bomb, and I was like,
you know what?
"Whoa."
It literally actually right away the first thing that happens in the show. But I think what happened was there was a harmonic convergence in the cable companies.
That's a joke you'll
where
understand
that's
in 26 minutes.
It's stupid, but in the best way. I think it happened around the time that History Channel stopped showing history shows.
So
You can watch Finding Bigfoot on the History Channel now. Like I don't think
it is
there's some Yahoo at the History Channel who's like, but history is happening now.
So when we do get that
Finding
first
Bigfoot,
when we do get that first F-bomb,
yeah.
it sets up the show to be a lot more dark than I thought.
Oh, really?
A little more violent than I thought.
Okay.
And this is based off of
You didn't know that this was a young adult series, did you?
No.
Oh,
This
okay.
is also based off of nothing. I thought this was going to be like a TV 14, like a TV 14
Gotcha.
fun, playful. We're magicians.
I can't help but find it funny that I had knowledge of this being a young adult series, and when they dropped the F-bomb, it just seemed like they were trying too hard to be cool kids. Like you know when you're a kid and you swear unnecessarily when you're like, "Hey, give me the Jello." I said, "Give me the fucking Jello." Like that's what it felt like.
That's your example sentence.
That's my example sentence. There's a lot of Jello magic in this episode. It's a joke people will get never because that doesn't happen.
Before we dive into the characters,
Sure.
Oh wait, we need to talk
need to
about
know
who
who
this
this
is
is for. Yeah.
Before we do that, even
Sure. Okay.
I have so many questions just about the show in general.
Yeah. Okay.
I
don't have answers, but let me see if I can make it up.
We found out in the pre-roll that this takes place in New York.
Upstate New York, but also many different worlds.
Okay. I had questions about when and where. Because there are moments where, first of all, these magicians seem to be all 1,000 years old.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common in magical terms.
But there are moments where, like, it actually does seem like they're just, like, in upstate New York. There's a part where two of the women are having a conversation, and it looks like I'm watching an episode of Insecure, the way they're talking, right?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to a scene where they're talking to the king, and it feels like we're in like High Rothgar.
Yeah,
all of
that's a completely different world.
But it's like all of a sudden they have British accents, and they're talking about getting the gold from the fairy. And
I'm
like,
confused. What king was in High Rothgar?
I don't
was just
know.
The graybeards teaching you your thum.
I don't know why that was my reference, but it's
like literally any other hold would have worked because they were in a period of civil war. So like any of the jarls could have been king.
Let me guess.
So.
You're a Stormcloak.
I think I was. Yeah, one of my many playthroughs.
Yikes. Oh boy.
Oh, I suppose you would be an imperialist.
Anyway, my point is, throughout
Make
this,
Cyrodiil great again. That's a Skyrim joke that was like a decade in the making.
This entire episode, I was like, when and where are we?
Okay, I think this is how it shakes down. Time and space don't matter because it's a fantasy series.
True.
So I think
because we find out that there are different planets, different universes,
different universes, different times, different timelines even.
Okay.
It's a multiverse scenario.
Here's my second point.
Yeah.
There are There are pop culture references throughout this episode sprinkled everywhere.
Yeah.
We get Gilmore Girls.
Yep.
The Shield.
The Shield one was great.
The Shield. We even get the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
when are we in this show?
I think all
I
of the
was so
characters.
confused.
I think what it is all of the characters exist in what you can call "quote unquote" modern times, like almost 2020s.
Sure.
Late 2010s. I think that's
pre-COVID.
yes. Yeah. The Magicians solve COVID. Like that was season 6, and then they scrapped it when they're like, budget's getting tight with COVID.
Darn.
So, no, I think the story takes place in modern times. However, since they are magic, they can go anywhere, anytime. And they just happen to go to a universe of magic where it basically is 16th century England.
So this school in New York teaches magic.
Yeah, Hogwarts.
The magical pedagogy. I learned a new word today.
Pedagogy.
Pedagogy.
It means
Seeing producer Josh shake his head.
it just means to study. We don't need to put it up there. Get it out of here. Get it out of there. We don't need it.
So what was my point? My point.
You learned a new word.
Okay.
We don't know when it takes place.
Does this school teach magic in New York?
Yes.
And does it like shield itself from like
Yeah.
regular Earths?
Muggles. I can't say that.
Muggles.
We can't say that here.
Whatever you want to call it.
I'm pretty sure in the Magician's World they're called gummels.
But so like do they practice this in private?
I think
I'm asking
I would
you
imagine,
as if you've watched more and have more context.
I
than
was gonna lead with the I imagine, because the truth is I have no fucking clue.
Oh boy.
I imagine that the magicians are completely separated from.
Based on the pre-roll, it sounds
Like
like
I don't think they're gonna walk through downtown New York and there will be like an Ariana Grande billboard behind them, and they'll be like, "Man, have you heard that new song 24K Magic?"
there's an episode where they're walking through Times Square and Carson Daly's counting down the ball drop.
But since time and space don't matter, they round a corner and then Carson Daly's counting down the top 10 music videos of the day. Oh no, we've entered Carson 17 timeline.
You'll understand that in
18 minutes.
Anyway, so the pre-roll makes it sound like this Quentin guy, who, by the way, we don't even
Not even
see
in our
this
episode. Not even in our episode.
A guy named Quentin goes, "Hey, that school looks cool." Stumbles into the school and ends up learning magic exists.
Yeah. I think it sounds like, to be completely honest, yeah, I think you're right.
This is the final season of the show.
I have to imagine there is a snake scenario, like in Harry Potter, where they're like, "Wait, but I'm a magician." It gotta happen. It just has to happen.
Well, let's talk about the audience of this show.
Who it's for?
I feel like this is a show, and again, if this is your first time watching or listening to the podcast, this is what we do. We make wild assumptions based on the one episode we've seen without any context at all.
You weren't gonna say it?
What?
You weren't gonna say we make? You weren't gonna say it?
I mean,
I was literally ready to start counting it off.
You can say it.
No, we don't have to. I mean,
I feel like this show doesn't know what it wants to be.
so you're saying you had trouble with the plot?
Characters?
And the fandom. We've been doing it long enough that you got to the joke before I could get to the joke. Yeah, that's exactly it.
No, not the plot.
Sure, the plot was fine.
I just think that it
As
was
a
like
whole?
It was like, we're fantasy. Just kidding. We're a comedy. Just kidding. We're a murder. Just kidding. And it was like every.
I would argue that
it didn't know what it was.
I would argue that what you've just described is young adult fiction, though.
I was never a young adult reader.
No, neither was I. But I mean, like, think about all the things that are based off of it, like Twilight, Hunger Games.
This was the mysticism and playfulness of early Harry Potter with like the darkness and grit of Game of Thrones with like
I would say it's the darkness and grit of Hunger Games. I'd say those are two very different grits. Like so here's the thing. We do see someone explode, spoilers, but
right.
I think if they had gone in and like, I know they talk about genocide, but if they had murdered all of the fairy people, I would say that that's like a Game of Thrones level grit.
There are parts of the show that are like very light and playful and cute, and then there are parts that are like incredibly dark and like wildly just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
And then there are parts that are like, we're mystery now. And then
Yeah.
and then there are parts that are like your normal sitcom punchline 1-2
Yeah.
jokes. And it's like this episode at least didn't know what it wanted to be. So only seeing one episode, I can't help but think that the entirety of the show doesn't know what it wants to be. If you had to place this show in a single category,
Sure.
even a subcategory, what would you say?
I would have to call it fantasy.
I mean, in essence, yes.
I don't necessarily agree with calling it strictly fantasy for the reasons you've said. I agree with all that. However, I think by the fact that they are magicians,
right,
it kind of has to be
and
fantasy.
it takes place in the
and they go back and
fantastical...
they deal with elves and different worlds, and like I think that by definition has to be fantasy. But I think there's a far cry from what. So you're not a huge fantasy nerd, are you?
Yes and no.
Because I am a huge fantasy nerd.
Yeah. Like,
And
I know you can recite all of the Lord of the Rings books.
Oh, God,
from
yeah.
the start.
Oh yeah, from start to finish.
You might
which
as if I hit record, you could just be the audiobook.
Yeah. By the way, if you guys want to watch my, it would be like 40 hours long. No, so like Lord of the Rings is a great example because that's considered high fantasy, where it's an entire world built specifically for the story. This is not. This is what I would call like low fantasy, or like just like regular fantasy, where it still has the fantastic elements: magic, fairies, potions, wizarding schools with the little wizard boy. So I would lump it in as fantasy, even though I don't feel good about it. Yes, producer Josh.
Question in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Nope. Producer Josh, it was the guy behind you. Can you hand him the microphone?
Sir, here you go. You got it?
Thank you. And what is your name?
Yeah, hi. So, quick clarification.
We didn't get the name? We don't got the... Okay.
Producer Josh, 20.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no. It's
about,
okay, here we go.
12 minutes till you
12 minutes
understand
out
that
till-
joke.
Producer Josh sent me a text with an update that he remembered that his wife couldn't get into season 4 because that's when the show surpassed the books.
Oh, see, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That actually fills in a lot of holes.
That's what I was saying is, I wonder if producer Josh's wife, because they feels like they're jumping the shark in this season.
Classic Game of Thrones scenario.
Yeah. And it seems like that in this season where it's like
that makes
there's literally a moment in our episode where they're like, wait a minute, I've seen that device before. It's the timey-wimey device. And then David Tennant appears and they have to pay a shit ton of money to Doctor Who in royalties. Like, they jumped the shark.
So knowing that this show is not...
They don't actually make a Doctor Who reference. I realize that people who don't also have context don't realize that.
Knowing that the show is not like a TV-14 playful, fun show.
Sure.
Right? Who is the audience?
I think
who
this
is
is for the classic young adult, and I'm going to call that, I don't know, 15 to 25?
Do you think the added violence,
15 to 30?
Added violence, added profanity, yada yada, like, is an attempt to like make it edgier for like an older audience, or do you think that stuff is actually included in the books as well?
I think that stuff is probably included in the books. I think this show in particular, and probably now with the later seasons, knowing what we know now, there's a really, really good high fantasy series called The Legend of Shannara. It was originally 3 books, and it was really good.
Okay.
It then went on to be like 20-some books, and you could tell that the author, Terry Brooks, by the later ones, he was just like, kill me now. Please kill me. Please stop making me do this. And then when Jon Favreau adapted it to MTV, you could tell there was an MTV executive who was like, all right, yeah, oh, great, elves, but sexy. Oh, yeah, all right, period style clothing, all right, but tits. Like, you could tell that, like, someone, like, it originally started as just, like, 3 books. They were great fantasy. It was just meant to be that. And then by the time it got to a television series, like, too many hands had touched it, and it was not good. I think that's probably exactly what happened.
I just have no context on what this is supposed to be, so
Yeah.
I can't make any critiques.
I have heard really good things about the books, so I had higher expectations for the show. But now things are starting to make sense.
I'm no longer a young adult,
That's true.
so
You're just a regular young. What's up, Josh?
young, yeah, boy, Bell.
Quick interjection, because I was looking up the age
Dr.
demo,
Michael Adult.
and I found that I didn't know about this. IMDb.
This is the OG.
Yes, this is me.
Josh.
It's
By the way.
original, yeah.
I don't have a number.
Mm.
IMDb has a parental guide page
Okay.
Yeah.
for the magicians, and apparently people just list sexual things that they saw in the episodes, like girl slaps another girl's butt.
Oh.
Deep cleavage is shown.
Deep cleavage is shown.
Two
Okay.
books having sex, but is considered more comical than anything.
I mean, two books
man.
having sex, that's pretty common.
A female dress into a bikini in front of a bisexual guy. That one I love.
A female dress into a bikini.
What is this?
IMDb
Parents'
parental
guide for the magicians on IMDb.
that
Apparently,
is-
this is a thing.
So you can like go into any show and like people will post their comments about what they think makes it a rating.
Yeah, so you can jump to the sections: sex and nudity, violence and gore, profanity, fighting and intense scenes.
Just so I know, what category has the highest
The
star rating?
the parents,
Sex and nudity.
Sex and nudity. Good
That
for
has
this
the
show.
most like entries.
Yeah, good
The,
for
the
this show.
parents that are concerned.
Male and female
adding to
kiss
this,
each other.
Male and female kiss each other.
Dear God.
Those are the worst parents.
Ah.
What
Oh,
are
yeah,
your kids
yeah.
supposed to watch? Bluey. Love that show. Bluey. Anyway, sorry. Can we talk
Stop
about-
watching Blue's Clues and come do your SAT prep.
I
Joke about a 16-year-old watching Blue's Clues.
I agree with you on the audience. I think it is kind of
Sure.
a later teen, early 20s. I
Yeah.
feel like it maybe skews female.
I think by the time people our age in their 30s get to a show like this, like we kind of either have to be open to this premise or we have to have read the books to really enjoy something like this and lean into it. But I could see how if I were like 17 and I read this, I'd probably be like, neat.
I mean, there are elements of this that's like
Those
cool.
books-
There's a
those-
couple
those-
of things that happen that are like interesting, and I'm
Yeah.
like, there are nuggets that I'm like, I could picture myself reading this as a book and be like, yeah, okay, this is cool.
Yeah,
Do you want to dive into the characters quick?
we absolutely can. This was one of the first times in a while we've had a decently extensive character list.
Yeah.
In terms of, if you asked me who the protagonist was of this show, I couldn't give you an answer. Apparently, it's a dude named Quentin, and we had no idea.
So something we normally do on this podcast is we tend to break the episode down by subplots, right?
Yeah.
And this was one of the most like segmented ABC. Like there was not really much overlap. It was like this group is doing this group is doing this group is doing this.
Yeah.
Normally that happens and there's a little bit of overlap. Sometimes some of the subplots are more important than the others. This episode literally felt like there were 3 things happening at the same time and they're all equally important. I don't know if you got that vibe or if you agree, but like the character list is split up in, I think, 3 subplots.
Oh, my goodness. Here's something that I didn't know.
Okay.
Spoilers all around.
Okay.
Quentin? No, you put the headphones back on
Why can I still hear you?
because you have ears. You still have ear. Just because you take the headphones off doesn't mean you don't have ears. Right.
No, okay.
Spoilers. Quentin is dead.
I mean,
They kill him
that
in
doesn't
season-
mean
they
anything to me because
They
I've
kill
never
him in
seen the
season.
show.
They kill him in season 4. Yeah, but you talk about like Quentin had lived a life wanting to be mad, and now he's dead. That might be why it seems like season 5 doesn't have a. It's really it's a Zach Braff-less Scrubs is what we watched.
Oh wow! You think
That's exactly what it is.
wow? That is quite easily the most
Astute.
brilliant comparison to a show.
Yeah, I think that's
Because
I think that's
technically,
why.
Scrubs went 9 seasons, but
Yeah.
season 9 doesn't really count.
Yeah,
So are we to think that season 5 of The Magicians doesn't
really count. I think so. I think that's where we're at.
If you are a fan of the show and you've watched The Magicians and you are you know everything about it, leave us some comments and tell us what season 5 is.
Yeah, because to me it seems like they're just grasping at straws now that I know that the main character from the pre-roll is supposed to be Quentin, and now that I know that he's dead in season 5.
That's it's almost as if
like, look at this. This is there's an entire article. Is the Magician season 5 pointless in a post-Quentin world?
who the fuck is Quentin?
Who the fuck is Quentin?
Okay, let's dive through the characters that we do meet.
The characters we know, yeah.
Do you want to just go kind of?
Yeah, because normally we break it up by like plot, and we say like these characters are with this plot, and these characters are with this plot, but it kind of overlaps.
There's a little bit of overlap, but I feel like it is pretty segmented into like these people do this, these people do this.
Yeah.
Let's just go through the list and then.
Well, let's just for the sake of the plot, there's really only an A plot and a B plot. The A plot is at Breakbill, the school.
Right.
And it's the troubles of Breakbill.
Uh-huh.
And then there's this magical world called Fairies? I wrote it down and then I promptly forgot it, which is that's on
Fillory.
Fillory, not Fallery, Fillory. Okay. So you have the school,
Right.
and then you have the magical world of Fillory.
Right.
And that really determines like what characters you're going to see.
Yeah, those are kind of the two breaks of characters.
Let's start with the school. Let's start with Breakbill.
Sure. So we have a woman named Julia.
Yeah.
Julia and Penny.
Yes.
Not Penny or
Benny.
Benny.
Yeah. Penny?
What did I say?
Penny is not a word.
I meant to say Benny.
Benny is.
Oh boy.
His name William Penny Adiotti is the character name, and Julia Wicker.
They are a couple.
They're a couple.
He is
Like this.
I believe the new dean.
Okay. So it sounds like he's kind of we're just making all of the Harry Potter references we possibly can.
Sure.
He seems like he's their defense against the dark arts teacher. Okay. You know how like no one ever it's always someone new. I think they're within like the last couple episodes he just like became one of the teachers just cuz.
Yeah.
Kind of a real like Gilderoy Lockhart situation.
So we have those two. They're a couple.
Because he's from a different timeline. For
yeah,
the record.
we find that out at the end.
Our Benny is from a different timeline.
Penny.
What did I say?
Penny.
Penny. No. Penny. Wait. Hold on. Benny.
That is. Hopefully you understood that reference if you just saw what happened.
What? No. What?
We then also
we lost video. What do we do? What happened?
We're good. I'm just tired of that joke.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought there was like some big technical problem. It's just a stupid. That was Gravity Falls. So that was what, like our second video episode.
Julia and Penny. We then also have.
Oh, you know what? We didn't address at all, ever.
Huh.
The fact that this all looks better.
Oh yeah, it looks better.
It looks better, guys. If you're listening or watching, it looks better.
You should be watching.
You should be watching. You really should be watching. Go on YouTube and search You've Never Seen That Podcast, and then tell everyone.
Because then you can see cool things like this. I don't know, just some cool...
Ah, crap, not this again. No. I panicked. I panicked, and then 2 seconds into doing it,
that's why I let you do it, because I didn't know. I set you up. Holy shit, this podcast is so stupid.
I could have done anything.
The Magicians. Julia and
Peony.
We have a guy named Henry Fogg.
He is the headmaster of the school.
Henry Fogg is basically Morpheus / Captain Holt.
Yes, and I would have thrown in a tiny bit. I would have thrown in a dash because we have crazy. You know how we have Fogg 17.
Yeah.
Sprinkle in a little Giancarlo Esposito.
A little bit, but it's Morpheus because he's like all knowing. He's kind of like
he's the go-to guy.
He like built the security system. He has all this knowledge.
Yeah,
but it's Captain Holt because he's very like
straight face, deadpan,
monotone, deadpan, speaks in a very like straightforward manner, and I'm like, this is Captain Holt / Morpheus.
I'm going to tell you this. You could switch him out with either of those actors, and I would have the same experience.
Although seeing like actor Adrian
who are you talking
Adrian, what's his name? The guy that plays Captain Holt.
about? Oh, yeah. I was just...
Anyway, hearing him say a bad word would throw everything off for me.
Haven't you seen the episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where he swears?
Yeah, but they bleep it.
Hey,
What's his name?
I don't know.
Anyway, we have those three. We can talk a little bit about Todd. Todd is...
Oh, do you want to...
Todd is... The episode description is Todd sings a song.
Andre Brower, that's his name.
What did I say?
Adrian.
Andre Brower. The episode description is Todd sings a song, Margot gives a foot bath.
Oh, that makes sense to me now.
Okay. I have notes. We'll get to it.
Sure.
Amazing. Todd is, I think
he's a student.
A younger
He's
student.
like a TA, or is...
He's very nervous, very like wiry, just like super young. We have a guy named Hamish who is the school's botanist.
Well, he shows up.
He shows
he's
up.
added
He's
in our
new.
episode. He's new in our episode.
His storyline goes hand in hand with a woman named Alice Quinn. She's kind of your blonde Hermione Granger. She's a know-it-all. She's very
She's
smart.
a sexy Hermione Granger. Not that I just... She's the Hermione character, but they give that character... They give Alice so much sex
I'm
appeal.
going to let you sit in that one.
It's a thing, not that... Okay, you know what? Let's just... She's not a student. She's a random magician.
Sure. She's
Maybe
not
a teacher? I
She's
don't know.
not,
She's
I
not a
thought she
student.
was...
I'm thinking how to apply like a giant like canceled stamp right over you.
Boom. That's fair. No, I don't think she's a student because she seems to be like in cahoots with Benny and Julia.
Yeah. Penny. We also meet Professor Corbin very, very quickly. She's one of the professors at the school.
Yeah.
She's only in the very beginning. And then we meet another guy named Rafe, who is kind of a... He's kind of the one... He's one of the characters that kind of falls in the in-between.
Right, yeah.
He's another nervous guy that works closely with Alice and Elliot. We could talk a little bit about Elliot and that whole storyline.
Yeah, and we saw Rafe in the previously on in one world, and then in our episode we saw him completely in the other world.
Right. So those are the people that are kind of on... We'll call that on campus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
They're dealing with the ongoing
Greek life.
thing. We have another storyline that involves... This is where we get into like the Game of Thrones-y parts, right?
So this is in a completely different world called Fairies.
Is it in a different world, though?
Yeah, yes, they mentioned that it's a different world.
When? Where was I?
So when they talk about the harmonic convergence that they like saved the universe, they talk
They
about
moved
like
to the moon.
They moved the moon, and they're like, "Well, we saved it for us, but we didn't save it for everyone." And he's like, "Oh, jumping from." Well, I don't know why now he's talking like that, but he says jumping from one apocalypse to the next because Fairly is. Can you look that up? Fillory.
That plays into...
Is Fillory a different world?
A magical world led by the twin god what does that say? Ember.
Ember
and
and
Umber.
Umber. Okay, that's
Fillory and Further.
Okay, yeah.
That's one of the books. Fillory and Further.
Oh, okay, so it's like a crossover type thing.
So we meet Elliot. Elliot is, I wrote in my notes, emo eyeliner.
Yeah.
He's got greasy hair. He
Yep.
looks like he has eyeliner. He's very emo.
He does seem like
He's
he's like a
very-
good, he does seem like he's like a neutral good character though.
But he's very, very like emo attitude.
Yeah, super emo.
I didn't take him for emo. I thought he was on his way to like a KMFDM concert.
So anyway, what do you out of 10? I would say
Magician. Season 5, episode 7. David wages war. Well, okay, but what if they jump to Fillory and then David just shows up and just kills everyone? Just kills
We
everyone.
are all over the place. Okay,
We in that
let's
same,
talk about.
So
ahead.
real quick, Rafe
Yeah.
only appears to. Why did I just forget his name?
The
now?
Dark King.
Elliot. No,
Elliot.
only Elliot.
Emo Elliot.
Emo Elliot sees Rafe.
Yeah.
Rafe is in his head, kind of like a Legion situation.
Rafe is not the one that's in his head. Charlton is the one that's in his head.
Oh shit, you're right. It is Charlton. Yeah.
Charlton is, I think, Elliot's friend.
I think he's dead.
What?
Yeah, I think he's dead. I think it's a real I think it's a real Paul Bettany and Beautiful Mind, which I gotta tell you about something. Turns out Constantine and Legion, 2 different things. One movie, Legion, Paul Bettany, not even Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was way wrong.
Constantine is Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. 17-year-old me got it in their mind that
Legion is Paul
Legion.
Bettany.
Yeah, we got it in their mind that Legion was a sequel, and it lived there.
We're not living in
Forever.
the past, okay?
Yeah.
We're gonna leave
We're
Legion.
gonna leave Legion behind.
That was me throwing Legion.
See, producer Josh always gets mad at me for making him do unnecessary graphics, but it's because he's watching me. He doesn't see you do that shit you just did. He just did something. I'm telling on him.
There's a guy named the Dark King. The Dark King is
Sean McGuire.
the king.
Yeah, he's the king.
Fillory.
Of Fillory. I don't think he was always the Dark King. I think we figure out in our episode that he is the Dark King.
There's another man named Bick Pickwick. Bick Pickwick is a dick.
Yeah.
He's kind of an asshole. He runs some sort of tournament. He seems to be working very closely with the king. But he's also
you know
kind of like
you know why I said Sean McGuire looks so similar?
Oh boy.
He was in a show we watched called Once Upon a Time, where he played Robin Hood.
Wow, we did watch that, didn't we?
Yes, and he was in that, and that's
you can
why
find
I'm
that
like,
in the back catalog wherever you listen to podcasts.
that's why I was like, he looks familiar.
We also get a handful of people that I would say belong to kind of a third storyline, which is the fairies.
Yeah, that kind of technically all falls in line with the.
So we have Margot, who is part of. She's kind of like the liaison between the fairies and the militia. Would you even call them a militia? Probably.
Oh my God, Charlton is a former host of Nameless and the boyfriend of Elliot.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's why they're like.
But also only Elliot can see Charlton.
Where he was killed by while using.
Oh, where he was killed. There we go.
This
Yeah.
show is just. Okay, Margot is the liaison between the two groups. Fen is
Using a god-killing bullet? What the hell?
Fen is another character we meet who is not a fairy but works with the fairies. She herself is not a fairy.
Yes.
But she is part of the fairy group.
So the reason why we think people live forever is because at one point Margot was High King before the Dark King is High King.
Yeah.
And she apparently establishes a pretty good relationship with the fairies. But then she kind of fucks off for hundreds of years, I guess.
And then comes back.
And then comes back, and when she comes back, Fen is living among the fairies, and Fen is like, yeah, they actually don't like you anymore, because...
We meet Rowan, who is she seems to be the leader of the fairies. In the previous round, we get a scene where
Wait,
she's
is
like...
Fen the leader of the fairies, and Rowan is the liaison? I think it's that way.
Did I say that backwards?
I think we said it backwards, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fen is the leader of the fairies.
We see in the previously on, I guess we can dive into the plot now. We see in the previously on that they've captured a crate full of fairies.
Yeah.
In the very beginning. I didn't know what was going on. Now I understand.
Yeah.
A lot happens in this episode. There is a whole bunch of characters, and there's generally only two and a half storylines, but a lot happens. I want to say this. The episode of the title of the episode is Todd sings a song, Rowan gives a foot bath.
That's the description, not the title.
The description of the episode.
The title is Acting Dean.
In the first minute of this show, we are introduced to a character named Todd, and he begins to sing a song.
Yeah, it happens right away.
I paused, and I threw my hands in the air as if I don't care because I was so jazzed. I was like, the thing that they said was going to happened right away.
It happens right away.
Todd sings a song. Rowan gives a foot bath.
Yeah.
A minute in, Todd's like, I'm singing a song. And I was like, holy shit, they did it. So the song is a coded message from
Pigman?
Pigman. Pigman is a character that we are.
We see him in the previously on, and that's it.
We are told.
We're told
about
he's
him.
from Farrelly.
We never see him.
Fillory. Fuck! Now I keep messing it up.
So, in my notes I actually wrote down: is Fillory a place or a person? And now I realize
it is
it's
a
the
place.
So, I was a little lost with this whole song.
Yeah.
And the Pigman story. The
Right.
Pigman story is kind of overlapping from the previous episode, but then we kind of lose it in this episode.
All right, so I'm gonna hit you with a big view,
Sure.
and then we can go down. So there are these bad creatures called the Takers.
Okay.
The Takers.
Sure.
They're going to destroy everything. The fairy people know about them. The Dark King, we don't know who that is. We know now, but in the previous season we don't. The Dark King is in charge of the Takers.
Right.
So, we know that that's happening in Fillory.
Okay.
On Earth, at Breakbill, none of this shit matters.
Okay.
They fixed some harmonic convergence thing. They did that.
Okay.
So they don't give a shit about what's happening in Fillory. However, for some reason, a pigman gets sent to Breakbill, and the pigman warns them of the Takers and the Dark King.
So Julia seems to be kind of an all-time fixer, and her storyline is basically like whenever there is a world
if there
disaster,
is a problem, she'll solve it.
Yep.
Check out the hook while the pigman revolves it. The magicians. What's that?
What am I supposed to do with
nothing? Nothing. Keep going. Charlton's back, baby.
So the kind of main story with the campus story is that the school is on lockdown. Magic doesn't work the way it's supposed to work.
Well, so they did the harmonic convergence thing, which saved Earth, I think. But in doing so, they messed up.
They moved the moon, and now things are not
magic.
aligned, and now you can't do magic correctly because things go crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a setup or if there's actually a lore here, but my only favorite part of the show was when what's her name? Boobgician? Sexy Alice, yeah, there we go. Sexy library. Alice. She says that magic doesn't work unless you try casting a spell like Pleiades is 10 degrees lower or 6 degrees north.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like an astrological, like star chart based magic system. And I was like, that would be cool if it's actually fleshed out, but they might just also be giving the sexy blonde something to say. So I don't know. I really don't know.
So the entire kind of on-campus storyline is based on trying to figure out why the school is on lockdown, and then how they can fix the magic. And so within that storyline, there's kind of two, which is Alice and Hamish.
Yeah.
And then
Alice and Hamish meet each other in a mini bottle episode.
And then Julia and
Penny.
Beanie. The two of them are trying to figure out their love life in the context of this.
No.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about the twist that happens.
Sure.
In this. So we find out that Morpheus, Fogg, is not Fogg.
He is Fogg, but he's Fogg.
He's a different
timeline.
He's Fogg 17.
Hey, they only had to wait 47 minutes to get that joke. All right,
So
we were a little off on our estimates. We're sorry about that, but we got here.
We find out that there are dozens and dozens and dozens of parallel universes, each of which having their own
set of people
and
Hey, real quick.
storylines and yada yada, as
real quick.
parallel universe does.
Do you think there's a parallel universe where we're still doing this show?
It's a different podcast where it's all shows we have seen.
That's the difference.
And they watch, they roll a dice, and that's the episode they don't watch.
And then they try to figure out what happens in that episode by watching every other episode.
They watch a full series of a TV show they have seen before, and they discuss.
Welcome back to the You've Never Seen That 17 podcast, the show where two dudes watch every single episode of a popular television series but one, and then we use the plot, the characters, and the fandom surrounding it to deduce what the fuck happened in that episode.
Holy
there
shit.
it is. You've Never Seen That 17.
Oh, it's me, the Dr. Bell.
And it's your boy, Haas.
I hate this.
Wow.
That felt weird as hell.
It did.
Ugh. I felt like I was in your body for a minute.
Oh no, is this happening again?
Oh boy. So we find out that Fogg placed a magical ward over the school.
Yes.
Which is all fake.
Yeah. No, it's not fake.
It's real. It's real. But it's all part of the plan.
Yes.
Right?
So Fogg 17, I'm assuming there are actual wards in place protecting the school. Fogg 17 just uses them to essentially take over fascist
His
control of
his
the school.
plan is to use Todd to get cinnabar, which is some
It's a type of substance
type
used
of
in magic.
spice or something.
I think it's a magic spice, yeah.
Basically,
sounds right.
he pours cinnamon on a clock.
Yeah, that happens. Yep.
It's cinnabar, but he pours it on a clock, and that's supposed to disrupt the
Oh,
timeline.
Cinnabon.
Cinnab-
He eats so much Cinnabon, he goes into a diabetic coma and wakes up in a different...
The whole thing is he set up this whole thing to essentially get his wife back in a different timeline.
No, his daughter.
His daughter.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
So Fogg 17 comes from, like, the apocalypse. He's like the Terminator. He's the John Connor Fogg. Or the Sarah Connor Fogg. He's a Connor Fogg from the Terminator universe. And he is sending himself to this universe to try and take all of the magicians and the Breakbill School and move it into his timeline so that he can save his daughter.
So when we find out that there's a second set of characters, we find that out in the most amazing way.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
The school is on lockdown. There's a magical ward protecting it. The ward is a security system set up by Fogg, who we think is
Real Fogg.
the real Fogg.
Yeah.
And there are...
At this time, we only suspect he's different
There
Fogg.
are... Also, Todd and Fogg have been acting suspicious.
Yeah.
There are hidden, invisible landmines throughout the school.
Well, I think there's, like, magic booby traps.
Todd steps on a booby trap.
Real quick, though, before we talk about Todd. Did you like how it looked like she had like one of those like decoder things? She had like a cereal box decoder,
cereal
and
box.
she's like, "Wait, landmine."
Todd,
I was like, I don't know if that's terrible writing or amazing
Todd
writing.
steps on a landmine
and he
explodes.
he fucking
Like-
explodes visibly. We watch
It's like
him
it's like an
explode.
episode of The Boys. Like he
Yes, we watch him explode,
and it's at that moment I'm like, oh, this is what the show is.
yeah, yes, yep.
And then real Todd comes after him, and then we realize something's afoot.
Wait a
This is
minute.
when we realize there are two universes: real Todd, other.
You
alternate Todd.
wish that when Todd blew up, Penny would have caught Todd's foot, and when he saw other Todd, he would have said, "Wait, something is
So
amiss."
Julia and Penny, they decide to follow Fogg to see what he's up to. While
Yeah.
that's happening,
That's how we see Todd blow up. Is because they're following him.
While that's happening, we also follow
Elliot?
No, we also follow Alice and
Alice and Hamish.
Hamish to the
botany,
the botanical garden,
the greenhouse.
and that's when
Greenhouse.
and that's when they realize that the magical ward is blocking magical energy or something.
No, I don't think it's that. It's that there's a box with a magical plant in it, and the thing is, you can't. It probably is from Fillory.
Right.
The plant shouldn't be able to grow under normal Earth conditions, so they set up a box, and the box measures normal Earth conditions so that they can create an enclosed environment. But what's her name?
Alice.
Chesty McWand girl. Alice. She is the one that figures out that she can use the dials to figure out the current conditions of magic because it has like longitude, latitude, delineation, altitude, moon location, all of those things that
I didn't know you were such a fan of pedagogy.
Huh? That's just study.
Oh.
That we defined it earlier. That just means to study.
Well, that was close. This is the ending of this is that Fogg is captured and put in what they call the clean room.
Where he can't do magic.
So that whole storyline wraps up. We realize the whole thing was a ruse. The school was on lockdown for no reason.
No. The school was on lockdown for a reason.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the fact that magic isn't working the way that it's supposed to.
Right. The other storyline is that is happening concurrently is that the Dark King wants to invade the fairy
he needs
camp to get gold.
Yeah, he needs gold to pay soldiers and craftsmen. I
Right.
guess that's pretty simple fantasy, and he needs to get it from the fairies. Bickwith.
Bickwick.
whatever the heck his name is.
He's
He says, let's go genocide the Pickwick.
Yep.
He says, let's go genocide the fairies and steal their gold. Elliot is like, dog, that's not how fairies work. They go look at the fairies. Luckily, the fairies get tipped off by a talking rabbit with Margot and Rowan, so they can escape before.
that part is wild.
It's
That's
bonkers.
actually the part where Margot gives a foot bath.
Yeah, that's the second thing that they say happens.
I will say that the casting is kind of perfect. Everyone played their part so well.
Yeah.
Similar to Game of Thrones, where like
Yes.
the characters that you're supposed to hate, you hate them.
Yeah.
Bickwick, hate that guy.
Yeah. It's a real Grima Wormtongue situation.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
The guy that plays Bickwick,
Hate him.
I don't know who is this guy?
It's not Tyson Ritter from the...
It is Luke
Calamari. Sorry, this guy's out here
Luke
acting.
Camilleri.
Camilleri.
Great actor.
He's actually really good.
Great actor. I hate you.
It's one of those. I'm sure it's one of those. What's his name? Why can't I think of his name? The guy who plays the kid who plays King Joffrey.
Yeah. No one knows his name.
No, I used to know his name for the longest time because one of my favorite things was the fact that people used to like aggressively come up to him on the street and be like, "Hey, fuck you, man."
That's why he's like never acted again.
Yeah,
'cause
he
he's-
gave up. I think it's like. What the hell? I used to know it.
So, Margot is kind of the middleman between,
Well,
because she does a spell.
it's Jack something.
I mean,
This is completely irrelevant. It's just producer Josh is looking it up and it's bothering
So-
me. Margot used to be a friend of the fairies.
right.
Rowan is kind of the go-between between humans and fairies.
Yeah.
And Elliot is trying to win over the fairies' trust. We find when they raid the fairy camp, they find Jack Gleason. There it is.
Jack Gleason.
You didn't even have to look it up. I just remembered it, and we wasted time.
Anyway,
Perfect. No, when they raid the fairy camp, they do find gold.
right.
And Bickwick then goes to the king and uses that to further his fairy genocide agenda,
Yeah.
which is very obvious.
we-
I watched one episode and I was like, that dude's trying to murder every fairy person.
And we
I don't know
find
if he
out-
thinks he's politically maneuvering or not, but it's very obvious.
Well, Charlton sees that it was probably planted, and that's when he makes the shield reference. He's like, "It's planted, like an episode of The Shield." And I was like,
Yeah.
"What?"
You're like, wait, Charlton's dressed like he's in 1600 England, and
But
he's
he's
just
seen
talking.
The Shield.
Yeah. He's a big Michael Chiklis fan.
Was that Blue Bloods? No, that was The Shield.
That was the
The
Shield.
Shield. Now all I can think of is mid '90s cop dramas.
Yeah.
There's so many.
We
of them.
got a real Chicago
Um,
PD on our hands here.
Fillery PD.
Oh boy.
We see that
The king is Bickwick turns to Elliot. He's like, "We don't find gold. The king's gonna be up my ass."
we see that Bickwick has planted the gold.
Yeah.
And then we find out that he actually has these
Beetles,
beetles,
magic beetles.
that shit gold.
they shit gold.
And the beetles were of old wives' tale. No one knew that they
They're
were real.
supposedly extinct, but we think it's because Bickwick's family has been hoarding them.
So the end of this storyline is essentially Charleston and Emo Elliot turn Bickwick in
yeah.
and say it's all fake. He has shitting beetles that shit gold.
Yep.
They throw him in jail.
Yeah.
The ending of this episode has a very
It's a big twist. It's
Big
on a, it leaves us
twist.
on a cliffhanger.
they go back to the fairies, and the fairies thank them for saving them and not having them killed.
Yeah.
And then they go, "You need to see the truth." We cut to question:
Yeah.
Is this real time or is this a flashback?
No, this is real time.
The fairies show everyone the king
The king takes the gold.
dumps the gold.
He dumps it on the ground.
and then it melts into the ground and then raises the dead.
No, so he does some magic. I'm assuming
does
it's like
magic.
he
He
does
does
magic.
magic.
The king does magic. I'm assuming it's like a summoning spell.
Right.
And he summons what the previously on called the Takers.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're dead or like whites or
They
if
come.
we just know, or if they're demons,
The
or we
goal-
know that they're bad things because they make moaning hisses.
So, it turns out that Bickwick is bad. The king is also bad.
Yeah, for different reasons.
Right. And that's how the episode ends.
And that's the And then
Which
it ends
I
with,
actually
And
That's
then
a
actually,
I thought it was a really good ending.
It ends with Todd's song again.
Oh yeah, I know. I was like, at first I was like, is this the actual ending of the song? And I was like, oh no, this is just Todd singing a song.
Todd sings a song.
Before we dive into our final thoughts, let's run through Bang
It looks like
Bang.
Producer Josh has something here.
I just have one question, and I wasn't sure if you two would bring it up.
Okay.
When I was watching it, I felt weirded out when they were doing magic, and it was just silence. Like, there was no sound effects to it.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Wow.
I didn't think about that until you mention it right now, because sometimes you hear, like, they do
So-
Naruto jutsu hand motions.
It's a lot of
And then they-
Doctor Strange.
And then they whisper to themselves, probably like an
Okay.
incantation. But you're right. There's like
So
no.
that's very funny that you bring that up, because as I was watching this, any time that a spell was cast, I felt like there was something missing, but I couldn't quite
Yeah.
figure out what. And now that you mentioned that, that's exactly what's missing.
Well, that like so there when she makes
There's also very minimal visuals too.
Alice. So Alice makes a plane. She makes a note fly.
Yeah.
Right. She makes a paper airplane fly without the wind.
Mm-hmm.
I guess normally I would expect some kind of like whoosh,
So even like the
or maybe like a whoosh,
sure,
or maybe like a shoosh.
any of those are acceptable.
Any of those would have worked. Yeah.
Normally, also when someone casts magic, it's like green or orange, and like you can see it. And this was very minimal, like wispy white.
Yeah, like
or,
there was no
clear.
light involved. Yeah, there's usually like
That's
light
very
and light and
intentional.
sound. Yeah.
Hey,
Huh.
great observation.
Yeah, really good.
that's
Really
why
good.
we have you.
Yeah.
Let's run through
Bang Bang Dead
Bang
Dead Die.
Bang Dead.
Cool.
We don't get too much banging, but
All
I
right.
feel like there probably is a lot of banging.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit
There
you
is
with
no
this.
banging in this
I'm
episode.
gonna hit you with this. I think Charlton and Elliot bang at some
Now
point.
that we know,
I think
probably.
I think Penny and Julia bang.
Okay.
And that's I think Hamish. My real question is: do Hamish and Alice bang because they set it up like there's a
He's-
little will they won't they? However, there's only 6
And
episodes
he's,
left of the
he's
show.
a new character.
He's a new character.
Which is also an odd choice to make.
Yeah.
I will say one thing I really appreciated about this show was that several points in the episode, they say the person's name.
Yeah, that was very nice.
They're like, Alice, what do you think Julia is going to say to Elliot?
yeah, and then Julia would be like, Benny, how could you say that? And I'm like, oh, perfect. And then I'm like, wait, no, it's Penny.
I think there is definitely some banging. We don't get any in this episode.
Okay, but
I
specifically,
agree with you.
The Hamish and Alice, will they, won't they?
I say yes because
Do you think it's
although there's
Do you think it's like a last ditch effort to get people interested in the show, knowing that this is the last?
there's no way that they set it up when they don't.
Yeah.
Alice seems to be a very like stuck up like I don't know that I'm pretty because I'm just
because
concerned
I'm so
with
good
my
at math and
knowledge,
magic.
You know,
Yeah.
one of those.
Oh yeah. And then Hamish is like, the greatest magic was, and then he takes her glasses off, and he's like, you all along.
And then she gets cold, so he puts his Letterman jacket over her.
Pan out on break bill as little ditty about Jack and Di.
Pickwick dies.
Okay, you think so?
The
you think,
king
you think, does the king die?
The Dark King dies.
He dies. Okay, I believe that.
I think Pickwick dies.
I would. I don't think Pickwick dies.
I think.
I think Fen or Margot dies.
Morpheus. No.
No.
Fogg doesn't.
No. If I was gonna say, there's no way Fogg dies.
I feel like if anybody,
I think if Fogg dies, too many people go, "You killed Dumbledore."
I think of anyone that's gonna die, it would be either the king or Pickwick because they're the bad guys.
I think
the
I could
story's
see.
gonna wrap up with the
I
bad
could
guys
see
dying.
the king dying and Pickwick being reformed.
I mean, maybe.
Elliot ends up being king. Pickwick ends up living among the fairies. Like, I can see it.
Well, let's wrap up our final thoughts about the show. This is not at all what I was expecting. That being said, I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting a very kid-friendly, happy-hearted TV 14
Oh, okay, yeah.
magicians type show.
Yeah.
And then there's F-bombs and blood and sex and gore.
Someone
and
blows
it's
up and there's-
very dark.
yeah.
I will say that the things that happen are all interesting, but I feel like, again, this episode doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that season 5
Is the end?
could be a mistake and that it really ended in season 4,
Yeah.
this is all out of context.
Yes, Josh.
I just have a quick question for you, Belle. Before
Sure.
you give your rating,
Yeah.
as someone who is a magician themselves,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
how did you feel with
Do you
your
feel like they
fandom on this show?
accurately- Do you feel like they accurately portrayed magic?
Also bummed out you haven't done any tricks.
That's a good point.
This
I was
entire
actually,
show.
Honestly, I was gonna bring a deck of cards and then just like as you were talking, just fan them out, and then I fucking forgot the cards. Anyway,
Can you imagine if the Dark King like dumped out the gold and he was like hush, 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 and then he just starts doing the like cards out of the mouth?
squirts of flour.
Flower on it.
Obviously,
The
this
takers
is
climb out
this
of
is
the
more.
dirt and they pull the flowers.
This is more fantastical. This is more,
Oh boy.
like fantasy based. I'm
Yeah.
I'm a fan of sleight of hand.
Yeah.
All my tattoos are.
You needed
magic tattoos.
more Now You See Me, and you got
Yeah, yeah.
more of the magicians.
I didn't hate it. I just think that there was nothing there in this show for me to be like, I want to know more.
Yeah, so you weren't super invested, but you also didn't
I
actively
didn't hate it.
You didn't
Honestly,
actively-
like given what the show was about, given the things that happened,
Yeah.
all of the acting was actually very good.
I
Like,
thought the acting was great.
there
yeah.
wasn't a single cringe moment. There wasn't a single character where I was
No.
like eye rolling. That all being said, this is like just above a 5. I'll give it a straight
Oh.
5.5. It's
interesting.
pretty
interesting.
low.
Interesting. So
Pretty low for me.
you and I usually are pretty disparate on our ratings,
Yeah.
but we've been surprisingly consistent over the last like 4 episodes.
Yeah.
This one, I'm gonna rate it first, and then I'm gonna explain it.
Sure.
This one, I was gonna give it a 6.
Yeah.
I was gonna give it a 6.
I was around there.
I was gonna give it a 6 specifically because if this show were just on and I just happened to watch it, I would find nothing offensive enough about it to turn it off. Like the writing
right.
was good enough that it's like I would just view it. The acting is good, so nothing about it was offensive enough to want to turn it off. Even for someone who likes the fantasy genre, it wasn't engaging enough for me to be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
how do they get there? The only thing I have about this show that really kind of intrigues me is I wonder if season 5 super sucks and seasons 1 through 4 are actually like, I feel like it might be one of those things where seasons 1 through 3 are really good.
Yeah.
Season 4, where it outpaces the books, is like kind of not great, and then they kill off the main character maybe, and
which
then
is crazy.
right, and then season 5 sucks. If that's the case, I feel like season 1 through 3 might be up my alley, and like if I watched season 1 through 3, I would rate this higher. But only having seen season 5 and trying to guess off of what I'm going with, I really feel no like desire to watch
That's how I feel.
any of this, even if seasons 1 through 3 are super good. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 6.
That's a respectable score.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only slightly below that.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I feel
I'm
like
also not a big. I'm not like if this were just fantasy
Yeah.
and not young adult, I'd
It's-
probably
it's-
like it more.
it's not for us.
No.
That was our review of the SyFy original, The Magicians. Producer Josh is going to reach in
no,
the hat.
I'm gonna drop it down to a 5.5 because I just remembered they spell it SYFY.
He's not going to adjust the score. Producer Josh is going to dig into the hat to see what we are watching next week. As always, if you want, find us on the internet. We are on Facebook and Instagram.
Wait, let's do this right now. Let's do this right now.
YNST Podcast.
Let's do this right now. If you're listening, we'll wait. Go ahead. Go on the internet.
Yeah.
Go to the YouTubes. Search You've Never Seen That Podcast.
Hit the subscribe
Hit the
button.
subscribe button. Like the channel. Like the
Tell
episodes.
a friend.
Give it a chance. Watch one episode, because some of the shit that producer Josh pulls off in the visuals is too good, and there will never be enough people seeing it.
Right. Follow us also on Instagram and Facebook. We post little blurbs and little snippets of what we're up to here and there.
And I believe that we had some really good outtakes before the really good stuff coming up, people. Hopefully we get that into.
We do some polls asking our fans what we think what you think we should be watching. Leave some comments. Let us know what we're doing wrong and what we got right.
I want more people to yell at us in the comments, because we had a mutual friend, like, he called me out in the comments, but it was just a text between him and I,
Yeah.
and it was great. I loved it.
That all being said, what are we watching next week?
Next show we are watching is going to be The Strain.
Oh,
More sci-fi.
more sci-fi.
The
Wait,
Strain.
sci-fi as in science fiction, or this is on the Sci-Fi channel? FX. It's an FX show.
Okay.
I like how I'm watching your computer as if I don't have my own right in front of me.
What is what episode?
We are doing season. How many seasons are there?
Oh, I'm looking. This up?
I thought you were looking
five
it up.
seasons. 5 seasons. We're watching season 5.
Yeah. Roll the dice.
2.
Okay.
Okay. Season 2 of The Strain.
There are. Oh, there's a lot of episodes.
Oh boy.
13.
Let's see. Oh. 11. Episode
Towards the
11.
end. Season 2, episode 11 is titled Dead End. Gus helps the Guptas get across the border. Fet, Nora, and F, those are fake names,
Fake names.
look all over the city for Dutch, also a fake
Also
name,
a fake name, yeah.
who's in a life or death struggle with Eichhorst.
Also a fake name.
Setrakian
Also, okay.
meets a familiar face while searching for the Osidio Lumen.
Osido Lumen? Yeah, wow, just a bunch of made-up names. This aired September 20th, 2015, so.
If you are a fan of The Strain or know someone who is, make sure you let them know. Check back with us. Next episode, we are watching Season 2, Episode 11 of The Strain. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye, guys.
You never